The aspirant that would become Master Balthazar of the Dark Angel's Fifth Company, the Unrelenting, and the Keeper of the Unseen Ritual, was born to one of the thousands of planets under the oath-sworn protection of the Dark Angel's Space Marine chapter. Balthazar was raised under the religious oppression of a psyker cult. Inevitably, the cult was brought low by a group of insurgents, to which Balthazar was a member. Balthazar's upbringing would result in a distrust of all psychers, including those of the Dark Angels Librarius. During Balthazar's service in the Dark Angels, he served in multiple notable roles, including 5th Company Sergeant, a Deathwing member, and a member of the Death Watch. Along with his contempt for psychers, Balthazar upholds significant hatred against the Crimson Slaughter Chaos Warband for the death of his mentor, Zadakiel, the previous 5th Company captain. Upon the birth of the Great Rift, the 5th Company was pulled into the chaotic battles, and Balthazar was slain in battle. His death marking the fall of the old form of the Empire, unsplit, mirroring the death of his namesake, King Balthazar, who marked the fall of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. But what if he had survived, and instead of his successor, Azrael, being the firstborn to cross the Rubicon Primaris, it was instead Balthazar. Today we'll be working on a Dark Angels Kitbash, attempting to recreate the model that was Lord Balthazar, or Master Balthazar of the Dark Angels 5th Company. We'll be using a relic shield captain from the 9th edition launch box, and also a later release. I think you can get it, though if you're spending $40, I would look around and see if you can get one for cheap. This one was secondhand. I had stripped it down. The primer they had used was real tough, so I had carved off the Aquila for a different project. I just don't really like the Aquila all the time, I've discovered. So taking the body, kind of comparing the sizes on stuff. I'm not so sure that I wanted to use the power pack from the original Balthazar model, just having some of the trimmings and stuff. The original sword blade, I grabbed one of the Calibanite great swords from the Inner Circle Companions, which honestly, if I was to do this kit bash and kind of recommend you to do this kit bash, I would almost just take a Inner Circle Companion model, this one specifically, and I would take the body and sword from that, and using the shield, and maybe, I believe the power pack can be made without the incense burner, so using that and adding some extra purity seals, I think you would almost get a better result if you did that and then maybe got a 3D printed cloak in order to kind of symbolize and stylize it in your own way. I did end up struggling a lot with the green stuff cloak near the end, so my green stuff's older than my time in the hobby. I got it really early on, so it was tough, and I should have cut it from different areas. I ended up with large cured sections inside the cloak that I had to deal with. So maybe just a 3D print, or if you're very talented with green stuff, I would probably go with an Inner Circle Companion instead. I grab out of the bits box and I search around. I have some leftovers of a friend's kit, Sternguard Veterans, which I grab the studded pauldron out with the purity seal. Kind of going for some more detail in the model overall. I didn't go for anything that has a Dark Angel symbolism on it specifically, because I just see that there isn't a ton represented in the model itself. I do notice that like a lot of the symbolism is in the cloakwork and stuff, and as such I think it kind of solidifies the idea that you should use the Inner Circle Companions as like your kit for this. Taking I decided not to use the original power pack from the model, instead trimming off the iron halo from the original power pack, and then using another Sternguard veteran kit, I grab one of the rifles that would be used and kind of cut off the scope and shave it down in order to make it look a little better. Taking the hands down just so that it's flat. The strap and the bolter rifle is really what I'm attempting to go for here. Make it enough that it will fit down underneath the green stuff cloak without making it obvious or making it look too chunky. To that goal, I decide that I need to remove the holster. I enjoy the aesthetic of the holster though, so I attempt to keep it as much in one piece as I possibly can, using the nippers to like saw away and scrape away to an extent that I thought about ruining it for a second, but I didn't. I thought that it would be a good bit to have in my arsenal in case I was trying to upgrade, say, a intercessor into a higher rank unit, just because that is something I kind of plan on doing in the future, just taking baseline infantry and kind of moving them up into captain and sergeant level in order to kind of kitbash future projects. Here, everything slowly starts to dissolve itself, and I decide that keeping it in separate pieces and taking off the back again would probably be the easiest way to remove this. So all the kit bashing that I've done up until now is pretty much for naught, basically dry fitting more than anything else. But the glue not being fully cured and everything not like fully being stuck together does end up being a boon. I should have dry fit the model a little more. Oh, there it goes, snap. I should have dry fit the model a little more. That would have probably allowed for a little more less on the fly innovation. A little less on the fly innovation. Using the pliers in the safest way, explosion. We're just gonna fast forward through here real quick. A lot of trial and tribulation that eventually I get it to come off pretty clean, and I get the holster in good enough condition that I think I could reuse it in a later date. So keep an eye out for that in later videos, I suppose. If you see it in a later video, make sure to come back here and be like, oh, the last pistol or something. I don't know. I'm not creative enough. Definitely worked out a lot better than I actually expected. I definitely expected to ruin the holster, but would have given it my best shot. Taking the bolt rifle out and kind of dry fitting it against the thing, and then magic of editing, it's now being glued on. So I think that it ends up sitting in a pretty good location, shaving off some stuff in order to make it fit better and kind of match the aesthetic of the original model, and then rebuilding the model from there. So we're going to reassemble the model now that we've done our trials and tribulations, just getting some Tamiya extra thin cement, gluing everything back together. Basically, up until now, the video's been more of a dry fitting instead of a kit bash. So everything starts to go together at this point. The experimentation being all but over. So the experimentation phase being all but over, I mean, we take it and we're putting arms together. The inner circle companion arms ended up working and doing a really good job of kind of emulating what the original stance was and the original pose was. I'm actually pretty impressed with how similar the sculpts are. You actually, if you see on the arm at any point in the video, you even see that the swords on the gauntlets are almost exactly the same. Grabbing some extra thin cement and getting it into the recesses so that we don't have to deal with the gun coming off at a later date like we did the arms and such when we were attempting to shave off points. I used to use Games Workshop's needle applicator, and I will say that like extra thin cement has a good place in like the hobby space, and I enjoy using it. But I will say Games Workshop's plastic glue is so much more intense and is probably better at like just melting things together quickly. I know that if I was to get like regular Tamiya, I'm sure it would kind of be comparable, but just an interesting thing for somebody that's getting more into kitbashing. In order to copy the wing icon on the original bolt rifle, I took this Raven wing icon from the upgrade sprue and cut off the sword hand, and then used the wing to kind of mount to the front of the bolt rifle. And I think it actually copies the vibe of the detailing really well. It actually came out looking very nice. Now we look at my attempt at green stuffing. This is the first time I've attempted green stuff, so as I try to like wrap it around and kind of figure out things, you can see that there's like large chunks of yellow and blue inside of it. Even now, we're at the post-cured cloak. I definitely see what people are talking about when they talk about mixing it with milliput in order to make it more workable. I used baby oil in order to keep it off of my hands, and now sanding it down in order to kind of get a smoother finish. I can see that the milliput would have been, I can see why people mix milliput. It's just a very tacky, hard substance to deal with, green stuff is. So it wasn't really pliable enough for me to get where I really felt like I wanted it. Here I take the wing off of the banner of a custodian guard model, trim it down so that it's only the first layer of wing frills, or however you would actually say that, and then bend it around in order to copy the aesthetic of the winged shoulder pad decoration from the original model. Really what I went for with this Kitbash wasn't necessarily a one-to-one, but as close as I could get to it with parts that were all GW production, including the original model's parts, which did a lot of the heavy carrying, but due to it being a monopose 3-piece, 4-piece model, I couldn't use a lot of it for everything. So, and then kind of decided to go away from using all of the other things that would have really helped, like the backpack, just because they were a little small for the Primaris scale, and I didn't really want that to show in the final product that I was kind of using it to, despite it not really making sense. Pinning the model into a made cork base now. I didn't really want to use the plastic base from the model from the launch model. It comes with a plastic base that has a Necron on it, and I didn't really feel like using it, make it a little samey, so made a custom cork base and glued in a piece of brass rod in order to kind of stab it down into this cork base, and make it more stable so that I didn't have to worry about it falling out during games or anything like that. Solidifying the helmet, as it was a little wobbly, I think I ended up having to take off the helmet, and because it is like square pegged for the original model, I shave it down to a more circular off camera and reattach it. Putting the peg into the cork, I got it a little too long, but I think stabbing it in enough where I got the rod a little long, so I ended up taking it out and drilling the rod in deeper into the model itself for a stronger connection using a smaller drill bit. Now I'm going to take some purity seals and kind of match the aesthetic of the backpack, which I had kind of moved on from. The first smaller one is from the Intercessor kit, and then the larger one is from the Librarian kit, like the Primaris Librarian kit, which I had laying around. Do plan on using, but as far as purity seals go, I only use them on occasion, and I don't necessarily love them in all situations, but I do think they add some very Warhammer aesthetic, and because it is the Dark Angels, it really fits. They're a very altruistic, very want to appear as the good boys of the setting, despite everyone finding them to be the most suspicious chapter in all of the Imperium. They don't really do a good job of hiding their past, so it's not that surprising. And personally, I don't really like the Hunt for the Fallen as much as I wish I did, as it is kind of a cool concept, but I think it's a little overplayed. I actually play Dark Angel successors, so this model won't be painted as a Dark Angel unless it's requested, in which case, if I get enough requests, I'll paint it to kind of match the original Balthazar paint scheme, but otherwise he will be painted to go into my Knights of Remembrance Dark Angel successor, which look out for a video at a later date. I will be making a chapter master for the Knights of Remembrance so that I can kind of show off my aesthetic a little bit more. Had to re-glue the icon. You can kind of see how it fits in this angle. It actually came out really nice, for my opinion. The cloak, I wish I had more experience with the green stuff, as it's not as good as I was hoping for. In my head, I had this idea that I was going to roll out green stuff and it was going to just be amazing. And I was going to have no problem at all, and it was going to be super easily workable. And yeah, that didn't happen at all. I got huge cured chunks into it and wasn't able to work with it at all. Using some of the extra thin cement, this is really the part that I appreciate about extra thin, Tamiya extra thin the most, because it is a lot weaker than like any other plastic glue. You can kind of use it on little outcropping bits, and it does even them out quite a bit. It kind of works as self-leveling for the plastic. Now we're gonna probably base the cork up a little bit using some basing putty, some texture paint from Huge Miniatures, I want to say, is the company that I purchased my grout through, but I'm not sure at the moment. Maybe I'll add the correction here if I am incorrect. But yeah, using the other side of a fork actually to get the texture paste into all of the little cracks and crevices. Let's reveal. definitely think that I could have done better with the green stuff cloak and such. I do enjoy how it came out. The cloak ending up giving it quite a bit of texture that I don't think I would have gotten otherwise. But let me know what you think of it, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And make sure everything's an adventure.